Hey everybody, I think this is the first vlog of the year. I wrote- made a couple that I didn't wind up releasing. I wasn't too happy with them. Yeah, I think 2023 is going to be a big year, a good year. I think there's going to be some challenges too, but I think that overall, you will see the you will reap what you have sown. Um, if you make good efforts and work hard, I think you will see that. And if you just kind of, fuck the dog, so to speak, then I think you will see the results of that too. 2022 was a very blocked year for me. I worked very hard. And there were some small gains, a couple accolades for the film and stuff like that. But overall, everything was blocked. And then as soon as 2023 came around, um, some good gigs happened like right away. And it seems to be, there's some nice measures in place that's going to make my life a little more comfortable. So I am very much looking forward to this year. I apologize, it's getting a little dark in here. I was gonna don the sunglasses and go into the cool machine once again from Steven to Stefan or Cal, but you're gonna see me in Nerdville. I hate how much these glasses make me look like a hipster because I'm anything but, unless you like, if it's like, you want to say like a 1940s hipster or something, I might acquiesce to that. But yeah, I just wanted to talk. Like, there's been some new friends from people being interested in my film and other things, and seemingly random friend requests too coming along. So, and I know many people know about this stuff already, but I think I'd like to review. I have a home-based life almost entirely, but every day I go to the cafe, usually for about half an hour. I take the long way down, go down Canard, and then I cut up through the pathway back home, and that seems to be the right amount of exercise for me these days. If I get the long way down, those of you who don't know, if some of you do, I have a very difficult condition with my CP. Started in 2006. It's called neurogenic bladder, and what that means is that I have to pee a whole lot. Um, I don't have any accidents, and I can sleep. If I'm asleep, I'm not like pee in the bed or anything. But when I'm awake, uh, these days I'm typically running like every half an hour to 45 minutes. So that's a lot of pee. And not only that, it is hard to pee amidst all that frequency. I can't always have them so easily. And that's not even the worst of it. The worst of it is um, if I like can't get that pee in time, like if I'm out somewhere or something like that, and it's not coming, and I can't get it fast enough. So let's see, say I've held in a pee for like 10 minutes too long, then I enter something called gonorrhea zone, which is the worst and most painful dysfunction of this, and that means that my urethra is like super burning and painful, dysfunctional, from anywhere from like a couple hours to a couple of days, right? So I, uh, I'm sure this is TMI, but I've started peeing at the cafe, and I never realized how quiet it was when you can run the water and sort of block out the sound. I'm able to get them most of the time, not always. So my little trip out, um, I'm able to avoid that gonorrhea zone most days, not exclusively. And I guess, oh yeah, the other thing that it can do is that I can pee, but it might like stop before it's finished. I've tried medications for this. Catheter doesn't really work. I will be seeing a urologist again in a couple of weeks, I guess, but I'm not particularly hopeful. Botox is you know, somewhat new treatment, but uh, if you were to get Botox, you may need a catheter, and I've had a catheter in me temporarily like 8 times, and it's only worked like twice. So if it dysfunctions badly enough, I get Botox or whatever, and just might not be able to pee at all, and then yeah, you're totally fucked, right? So all this to say, I need to live my life out of home most of the time. I I'm not able to work what would be considered like a shift of work. I can sit home and write and work on my projects, and I can, go do shows, but I don't even think I could be on stage for more than an hour at a time because I'd like need to pee in the middle of the performance, right? Um, so yeah, I can't really be out and about because every time I leave, I risk going into that gonorrhea zone. And that's not to say that I can always get the peas free and clear when I'm home by myself, but it does give me better chances. And, I can take breaks and rush back in 2 seconds and at least have the peace and quiet aspect of it. But it's really hard, guys, really hard. Um, Ironically, though, or I don't know if ironically is the word, but not as hard as my insomnia condition is that ultimately caused psychosis and that big breakdown I had like 4 years ago. That, however, though the some I have found proper medication for that, and that's treated very well. And overall, um, I don't really have it anymore. I go through little small stretches, but not the 0 to 2 hours most nights for 6 months kind of werewolf lifestyle that I had for like all of my 20s and half my 30s. And it wouldn't be that the sleep would be bad all the time, but it could be, extremely bad for like a stretch of 6 months or something. So thank God, for the most part that doesn't happen anymore. And if I had to choose between the two, I'd choose wonky pee over wonky sleep because with the relatively proper amount of sleep, I can think so much more clearly, and I really have been able to do the best work creatively of my life in the past 4 years because I've had, I think, 100% access to my mind. I know the experts say that, we only use 2 or 3% of our brains or something like that, but whatever it is available for us as humans to use, I was not able to always do that, just completely bazookaed by sleep deprivation. So uh, that's my health scenario for those of you who don't know. A lot of friend requests lately on the Facebook, some related to the film. I saw like one guy requested me, and they had like 5 friends, and I'm like, why would this cat be requesting me with 5 friends, some random person? And then just today, like some woman whom I had like one mutual friend with, and this friend was like an activisty type person, sort of from the community that I think I had met at the cafe. So it's like, oh, okay, maybe this is like some woman from the cafe that I hadn't seen before or something like that. So uh, I was like, and it didn't say like click on these photos, so it wasn't a porn bot. A little aside to that, there actually I did get a porn bot friend request that had 4 mutual friends in common, all comedians, and not like comedians throughout the years too. And I got a laugh out of it because like only a comedian, and that's me speaking as one, even though I'm not terribly active anymore in the traditional sense. But only a comedian would be lonely and sad enough to add those female porn bots or whatever in hopes that it is a well, if I just wish hard enough, it could turn into a real live girl and end my loneliness and misery. No, no, you can't. It's not gonna happen. So I got to laugh at this, but so this other person didn't seem like a bot or whatever, and so I added them because I was like, okay, this must maybe some girl I didn't know from the cafe or whatever, and so I get a message that's like, hey there, question mark. I'm like, hi, like how did we meet? And she says, do you mean me and you? And I was like, yeah, what else would I be asking, right? Yeah, yeah. Like, how? and do I know you? And she's like, oh, I'm sorry, we haven't met. And I was like, okay, well, why reach out? And apparently I had come up on their friend suggestions and stuff like that. And like, I'm sure that's relatively true. I've had people come up on my suggestions with only like one mutual friend, but they were like they're looking for new friends and they wanted to know like where I was from, da, da, da. And I it's immediate shutdown. It's like I'm really sorry, but my life is full and I don't have time for like random people on the internet. Like if it's someone in the community or like someone who just wants to, see the things I post and like follow my art or, my slant on life or whatever like that, like that's cool. But someone that's random like that that probably doesn't live in the same town as me who wants like some interaction like no I'm very sorry I'm just not up for that like I'm happily partnered. I struggle these days to keep in touch with the family and friends that I have, and I know that that's in some ways an enviable position to be in because I remember plenty of times in my life where I was, very lonely and it would always be me reaching out and people were either, too busy or not interested enough to have, um, so that I couldn't have the kinds of friendships that I wanted for like years and years. But the last few, that has really turned around for me and I don't have space for like, I mean, not now, if some people move away or I have some unfortunate falling outs or something like that, I'm sure there would be more time in my life at some point, people die, uh, stuff like that. So I don't expect things to stay as they are forever, but for now, I don't I don't have time for that kind of stuff. And I'm sorry if, you know, you are someone who is lonely and, just looking to connect. And I know that can be really hard. So like no shame in your position. You have my sympathy and stuff like that because hey, it used to be me, it could be me again. But just right now, I'm too full. So I don't, if someone wants to send me like something about, hey Josh, what's your slant on, disability, dignity, or, you know, um, like artistic perspective, like is this a film I should see, or is this a, like I'm depending, I'm up for like those type of engagements if it's like kind of something I can just think about for a little bit and get back to you with like a reasonable solution or something like that, and I can be helpful in that way. Great. But like, yeah, and even somebody from my past, I think I might have mentioned this in another vlog, they asked me to talk to this like disabled person who was like a little bit older than me by a few years and like still living with their parents and just like not feeling good about life and like could I be there for them? And the answer is absolutely not. No, I can't. Um, what I can do, though, is I can tell you what I did with my life, right? And that was, after going to the bar every day in my late teens and early 20s and just feeling really shitty about myself, I started spending time alone and developing interests. Got really into arts, films, and music, and later, and I say this to people, so forgive me if it's repetitive. Chess, literature, television, later, and those interests really kind of lifted me up and gave me something and made me realize that I want to make my mark in the creative arts myself. So, you know, become interested in things and try to develop some skills in those fields. And then as far as like the friendships and relationships, there is a lot of luck involved, but you're definitely like more attractive as a friend and I think a potential partner, even if you're like actively striving for those things instead of just, oh, I've got nobody, I'm not doing anything. positive with my life. There's this one like I keep seeing these like spiritual, like I don't know if they're Buddhist based or whatever, but people say, oh, why can't we learn to just be and all this stuff and like, you know, and in Western culture we strive for goals and on to the next thing. I mean, that's tricky, right? I don't know about that because like I get it if like, your goal is just make enough money and you don't like the work you're doing and you're stuck doing it and like that kind of thing, leading to like a spiritually hollow existence. But on the other end of it, like, just sitting there, just being without any goals, and by goals I mean goals that are meaningful to you, I don't see how as a regular human you can have any sense of self self-worth or fulfillment. If I mean, maybe you do, maybe you just like hanging around having teas with people and that's all you're after, and if you're happy that way, great. But I know for myself, like when I was that guy at the bar every day and was just kind of hanging around and enjoying some social time, but not working toward anything, I felt awful about myself. So I always, there was like, oh yeah, we can just be. Well, can you? Like, I think like Buddhism and stuff like that is good for, and I'm oversimplifying, I know, but like, I think it's good if you want to be a monk or like along those kind of paths. But like for a regular human being, like that exists and engages in the world and wants to achieve things and through achieving things you feel better about, which I think is natural, and it's not necessarily about making the $1 million. Like ultimately, like yeah, of course I would love that to be more successful in my career, but and I am sometimes frustrated that the journey hasn't yielded the material rewards that I desired. Although it has improved over the years, not to where it needs to be, not to be out of poverty, but I think I'm running on and on here. So, you know, and I'll do some more vlogs over the year, like little helpful hints maybe about how to navigate life, things like the differences between, good friends and associates or acquaintances, and because I think people get that mixed up a lot. And but I guess I'll leave it with this, just ultimately like try to make your life worth something that brings you joy, but that you can look back at and be kind of proud about yourself. But I know that can be hard if you have to work all the time or take care of somebody. If you're sick yourself, kind of have health conditions like I do or worse, right? But ultimately, I kind of think that's all we have and that's all you can do. And if you don't have any of that, you're not going for you know, a life that's meaningful to you, I don't see how you can possibly expect to feel even close to well, you know? And if you're somebody who like doesn't know what you're into, well, fuck, sample like a few different things and see, like, and let that be the journey of this. Well, what is it that I'm actually interested in? Okay, I went to university. I hated it. I didn't like studying in that way. I didn't care about philosophy or sociology or those type of things. But for some people, that's great. For me, not. Creative arts, right? But um, and I always got a big kick out of the fear of public speaking was right up there with death with people. Really? Are you really that embarrassed? Like, oh no, I'm gonna make an ass of myself in front of a crowd. Like, geez, that's right there with death. For me, death's a lot worse. I'm happy to talk to a crowd at any time. Okay, folks, bye bye for now. Be back with the liqueur connoisseur real soon.